All right, so we all know that earlier this week, Jay Z was named as a defendant in the lawsuit, along with Sean Combs, for having allegedly sexually assaulted and raped a 13-year-old girl at a VMAs after party. And I recorded my reaction to those allegations, to those news headlines, as a fan of Jay Z, as a hip hop head, and as a criminal defense attorney with, all my years of experience. And and I'll say again, as I said then, I don't know what happened. This could be true. This may not be true. I definitely hope it's not true, just for the sake of, somebody not having experienced what's been alleged, but also just in terms of somebody who I'm a fan of. I'd like to think that they wouldn't do something like that. But again, I don't know. So, I was going through my thoughts on everything, and I wanted to get out some questions that I have about the situation, just some things that sort of came to my mind as a defense attorney. These are questions that I had. Unfortunately, the battery ran out and I wasn't able to get to those questions. So here's part 2 of that video. And, if you've rocked with me before, I want to welcome you back. But if you don't know who I am, my name is Jamahl Kersey. I am a criminal defense attorney. I've been practicing law for over 15 years. And on this channel, we break down legal concepts so you are in the know. So let's get right into it. So the first thing has to do with the parents. And I know from looking at comment sections, a lot of people have questions on what was the deal with the parents, right? That's what I want to know. Like, what was the relationship with this girl? And before I go any further, because I know, people are already going to come out talking about victim shaming and victim blaming, right? In none of this am I necessarily victim shaming or victim blaming. These are just natural questions that I have in terms of, this girl and her relationships and what she was doing and all of that. But I do have a question about the parents. Like, what was the relationship like? What was it, that was the situation where this girl could be at a VMAs after party and the parents not know where she was at, right? Was this a normal thing? Like, could it be just any random Friday night or Saturday night and you not know where your 13-year-old daughter is, right? That's an issue for me. Or was this just an anomaly, right? This was not within her character. This was not like her at all to just be missing. I mean, and make no mistakes about it. There are, teenagers, I'm sure we all did things where we were out where we weren't supposed to be and things like that. But that is a strong question that I have in terms of the parents' involvement. Like, why didn't they know where she was? Did she go to a friend's house and then sneak out from there? There's a lot of questions in terms of what was the deal with the parents. My next one would be directed towards her, right? She's obviously almost 40 now, but at 13, what were you doing then, right? And I guess I could understand trying to get into the VMAs, right? Who as a teenager or in your young 20s wouldn't want to go to the VMAs, right? And be able to see all the celebrities that you see either on TV or on the basketball court or in the movies or on the radio, right? You'd want to see those people in person. And, we all have our celebrity crushes and the people that we're a big fan of. So I could see wanting to go to the VMAs, but as we know, at a certain point, she's kind of circling around and talking to people trying to get in. She ends up talking to this limo driver, and he lets her know, I can't get you into the VMAs, but there's an after party that I can get you into. And so for her, like, what is it that you're trying to do, or what were you seeking to accomplish going to an after party, right? And I'll just take you back to childhood, right? Your parents might be, hanging out with your other relatives, whether that's uncles and aunts or some of their friends, right? Might be some alcohol involved, depending on what your parents sipped on. It might be a little cognac, might be some gin. If your parents smoke, there might be some cigarettes, right? My mom used to smoke cigarettes. And so, they'd be having conversations. This is grown folks conversations, right? And you might hear a name that you recognize. It might be Uncle Richard or something. And you pipe in, hey, Uncle Richard, used to take me. And they'd be like, wait, what are you doing? Stay out of grown folks' business, right? Why did they used to say stay out of grown folks' business? Because you as a child, you are not mentally or emotionally mature or stable enough to be a part of or privy to adult conversations. This has nothing to do with you, right? There's a reason why they kept you away from those conversations. And now you in your 30s, 40s, 50s, you can understand why your parents would tell you to go on with the rest of the kids, right? Get out of here. This has nothing to do with you. And so along those lines, that's just conversation. Here we're talking about going to a party, right? You as a 13-year-old, which means you're probably around, middle school, right? What are you as a child in middle school doing, trying to get into a party with people who are at least 18, if not 18, potentially in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and you are the only little girl trying to get in there? That is an issue. What were you doing, trying to get into this party, right? That is an issue that I have and questions that I would want to explore. My next, and this isn't a fully exhaustive list, right? There's a lot more, but for the sake of a bit of brevity, right? Because this video is going to go for a while. These are just some of the questions I have. So it's not every question, it's just some of them. The next has to do with this limo driver, right? So the limo driver allegedly has an interaction with her and lets her know, hey, this is the type, you fit the description of what Puff likes, right? If she's only, 13 years old, and this is going to come up a bit, right? You can have some pretty mature looking teenagers, right? They can be developed in the like, but I don't care how mature they present themselves, how they're dressed, what they look like. 13 is 13, and that's not going to be mistakable, right? And so if he really did, right, if the limo driver really said that, what is it that he observed in his interactions with Puff? If this is true, what is it that he's observed that suggested to him that this girl fit the description of what he liked, right? That's one. Even if that were true, right? Even if it was, the type of girl that he likes, why did he then act on it, right? Again, this is if it's true. Why did he invite her, right? Presumably, Puff wouldn't have known about that conversation, right? He wasn't there. So even if it was what he liked, that doesn't mean that you had to go on to help out with this situation, because, that can make you an accessory, right? You can have been a part of, a link in the chain of events that led to this sexual assault and rape happening. And if you had reason to believe that something like this could have happened, then that can make you an accessory. And I have an issue with that, along with a bunch of other things that I have an issue with this case. But next is going to have to do with, going along, same with this limo driver. Why did you coordinate to pick this girl up and take her to an after party that was going to have adults? You know that she had no business being in that party, but yet you were the one who, in that moment, it wasn't even like, hey, get in, let me take you. It was like, hey, meet me back here, and then I'll take you there. So this was a coordinated effort to get this girl to this party, and I have an issue with that. Next is going to have to do with the security detail. Why did you let her into this party, right? Again, this is going to be a girl who clearly is not of age, and you allowed her to come into this party that was exclusively for adults, right? You know what I'm saying? This was not Chuck E. Cheese. This was not, the McDonald's playpen where you're jumping in the balls and having fun with other kids. This was a grown adult party, right? With alcohol and drugs and, probably things going on in other rooms and things like that, as adults are very much able to do if they want to, right? But a little girl has no issue coming into a party like that, right? And there definitely was going to be some sort of security detail, right? You're not just having anybody coming off the street to be able to go into this party, right? I think back to the year 2000. I would have been 20 years old. I could picture myself trying to get into this party. Man, I'm trying to see what's up. Where's Maya at? Where's Brandy at? I don't know if they were still popping in 2000, but let me see what's up with with what's walking around in here, right? And like, who do you know, right? Because I didn't know nobody. Right? I was a broke college student, right? Actually, I wasn't even a college student at that time. I was selling shoes. I wasn't in school at the moment, right? I couldn't do anything for anybody at that time, so I wasn't going to get into that party. And so if I wasn't getting in, there definitely was some sort of filtering system to let, who they wanted to have come in and who should not come in. And I could definitely tell you that a 13-year-old had no business going into an adult after party. My next question is, who served this girl drinks, right? She had said that, someone had served her a drink and it was fruity in taste. It had a little bitter taste to it. So it having a bitter taste. Now that could have been alcohol, right? Obviously alcohol is going to affect the taste of a fruity drink. But also when you hear that trigger word of bitter, that lets you know that it might have been GHB. And we know that since she was kind of feeling woozy and ended up, needing to lay down and everything, that increases the likelihood. She also said that when the incident was occurring, it was real difficult for her to move and everything. So it's likely that drink was laced if this ended up happening. And so who does that, right? Who serves this girl who is clearly not of age, I would assume? Who serves her alcohol? And in the next step further, who serves her a drink laced with drugs? Again, this is going to be, if this is true, another link in the chain leading to the event, which makes this person an accessory, just like potentially the security detail, just like potentially that limo driver, right? And so once she has this drink and she's feeling woozy and is looking around, like, are people not seeing this girl looking like she's out of it and just not paying attention? And that's going to be a theme throughout this whole, every part that she was just kind of moving around and people not doing anything in a response. That's just an overall, right, an umbrella indictment on this situation, right? But then when she makes it into the room, if what it is that she's saying is true, right? Because I don't know, you don't know, I want to think it's not true, but there's a possibility that it could be. And if it is, how is it that two grown men take advantage of a girl who clearly is not of age, number one, who then is out of it, right? How do you go in and tell anyone, whether it's a minor, whether it's somebody who's 31 years old, or whether it's somebody who's 50 or 60, somebody who is clearly out of it, cannot make her own decisions, isn't giving you any sort of indication that they want this. How could you take advantage of somebody in that situation? And again, I just want to be careful because I don't know if this is true or not. And I think if it's not true, if this is all BS and this is, a play for extortion, or this is just a money grab, then there are extremely ugly allegations to put on somebody for somebody to even have to answer. But, here we are. But the reality is there is a possibility that it's true. And so we got to go into these things. But I would just say it is absolutely disgusting if what is being alleged is true. And I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's the Pope. I don't care if it's your favorite rap star, your favorite singer, your favorite actor, your mom or your dad. To do something like this is absolutely disgusting. And let's just leave that at that. So after she makes her way out the room, allegedly she was holding on to her dress like a towel, trying to cover herself up. If anyone sees this little girl walking around, frantically walking or running around, trying to make her way out, why didn't anybody stop her? Why didn't anybody try and, comfort her or console her or try and call the authorities or help in some way? How do people just see a girl walking around in this way and not help? That's an issue that I have. Apparently she ended up making it to the gas station and speaking to an attendant. I would want to know, how did she appear to you, right? Did she seem frantic? Did she seem disheveled? Did she seem afraid? Did she seem upset? Did she seem sad? Did she seem as though something had happened to her? What would be your evaluation? Because I would imagine even after the passage of this many years, if you had an interaction with somebody like that, that would probably be the first and only interaction that you've had of that nature. And it's probably something that you wouldn't soon to forget, even after the passage of all this time. Part of those same questions would end up being, related to the dad, right? The dad apparently had picked her up, and I would have those same questions. How did she appear? Did she appear to be disheveled? Did she appear, was her hair in disarray? What did her clothes look like? Did she have any bruising? Did she have any scarring? What did she say to you, right? And you can see how, a little girl in that situation may not necessarily be inclined to tell her father exactly what happened to her for a whole host of reasons, right? There could be shame involved, right? This is something that if this happened, would have absolutely rocked her world, and she would be completely discombobulated. She would be completely, afraid, shocked, just completely disoriented, not understanding what just happened to her. And then there may be shame and guilt that comes along with that, right? She knows she was at a place where she shouldn't have been. that certainly doesn't mean that she deserved to have that happen to her. You know what I'm saying? If that happened to her, right? But I would want to know, what were the dad's assessments? What did he do in response, right? Did he call law enforcement? Was this reported to law enforcement? Was there any sort of follow-up with law enforcement? Was any sort of SART exam performed, right? So that would be the rape kit, and it was any of that done in this situation? If not, why not, right? There may have been reasons. There are all kinds of reasons why parents elect to not reach out to law enforcement after something like this happens, right? A lot of times there's shame. And now, nowadays, like, we have just really, really, really evolved, and we still have a long way to go, but we have evolved in terms of how we deal with these things. But I know, going back to the early 2000s, definitely 90s, 80s, something like this would happen even, within the family, or a trusted family friend, or a teacher, and people would just, clam up. And they, it become the thing that no one ever talks about. And unfortunately, the person who was subjected to that abuse then has to live with that essentially on their own, because now we can't talk about it at all in the family anymore. And they just have to suffer in silence for decades. And then, unfortunately, sometimes that rears its ugly head later on down in life. But there's a lot of questions that would be surrounded that, in terms of what was reported, if anything, and if nothing was reported, what the reasons were for not doing so. Then I would say, why did you wait till now, right? She at the time would have been 13 years old. Now she would be almost 40, right? And so 18 is only 5 years away from 13. So she would legally be able to make a report on her own behalf versus kind of going through her parents. And so the election not to do so, it raises some concerns, raises some eyebrows, right? It doesn't mean that it's a lie, right? And that's something that some of you guys need to understand. Listen, there are plenty of reasons why a girl or a boy or anybody, right, would either fail to report or just delay years in reporting a sexual assault or a rape that has happened to them. And, if you want to look into studies, look at that. But there are certainly reasons why people, don't report immediately. And again, that doesn't mean that they're lying about what happened to them. Just delayed reporting absolutely is a thing. But, we would want to know, why did you wait this long? And, to be fair, this whole thing of Cassie basically kicking down the door and now everybody coming out, like, there is strength in numbers, right? And so she, in that sense, could be a hero for a lot of people who are like, man, this happened to me, and there was no way I was going to go after, I don't think he was a billionaire back then, but, this powerful, famous celebrity, there was just no way I was going to go after that person. But once I saw, the door open, now I felt like, man, I have a voice now and I can go out and use it. But there's going to be some sort of explanation there as to why there was such a delay. And it could be, that, again, this is a money grab. This is extortion. That, at least those are allegations that have been put out there. And that is a possibility just as much as, this actually happening the way it's been alleged is a possibility. We don't know, right? But lastly, I want to get to who is this unnamed female celebrity that was allegedly in the room with Puff, with Jay, and watch this whole thing go down. Did you actually see this go down, right? Again, just like I was saying about, the gas station attendant, this would be something that, you can't forget something like this, right? If this happened, this would be something that you would remember, and I would want to know, what did you see? What did you hear? Why didn't you do anything, right? Or what, if anything, did you do to stop it? What did you do afterwards, right? Because in that sense, you could end up being, in the court of public opinion, just as guilty as the people who did the act, right? Or, legally, right, from a criminal standpoint, if it were to ever go there, right, then you could be considered an accessory, right? Whether before the fact or during the fact or after the fact, aiding and abetting on some level. And so I would be curious as to whether, if it even gets to that point, if we get to a discovery stage and we get to depositions, because it would be in the discovery in the discovery stage that the name of this person would be revealed. But when it came to a deposition, would she end up testifying, right? Or would she not, right? Because I would think that until you are fully satisfied that there's not going to be any criminal investigation, then, you know, if she has a lawyer, no lawyer is going to advise her to say what, you know, her involvement would have been, because that could be potentially incriminating. So that opens up a whole nother can of worms in terms of whether she's going to be an active participant in this investigation, whether it's civil or criminal. But, you know, that's the person that we really need to hear from, because if you're in the camp saying that, you know, this didn't happen, or there's no way that Jay would do something like this, then this person presumably would be the key person, right? Because once that person is named, then you're able to go to her and say, like, did this happen? If she's adamantly saying, no, this didn't happen, there was never even an occasion where me, Puff, and Jay were in a room together, let alone with a little girl, let alone under these circumstances, right? So, you know, she's going to be a key element to this case, you know, for either side, right? And that's going to be very interesting to find out what it is that this person knows. So those are my questions. Let me know, did you have some of these same questions and concerns? If you have other questions, let me know what your questions are below. If I get enough of them and they're really good, then I might, you know, drop a video analyzing those. But again, as always, I want to appreciate you. I want to thank you if you've been rocking with me for this far. But if you got something out of this video, show me some love, hit a like button, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on those notifications so you never miss a new video when it drops. As always, I want to thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace.